And with that, Nick Wright, first things first. Let's talk about more positive things. Let's talk about winners. So yesterday, I didn't buy into the official thing. One of the things, and I talked about, because I know you're a great poker player, and I said, Spags and Andy Reid, once again, in a matchup against Buffalo, are better poker players. They go all in on one or two hands. They always know when to do it. Yeah. And I said, what drove me crazy about Buffalo is when you go to one of these final tables, you got to save your best. You got to bluff and save your best. The Josh Allen tush pushes drove me crazy. Now,
you were right.
They told you basically early in the game, this is what we're going to do every single play on 4th and 1. Did you feel the same?
Oh, I felt a lot of things. First of all, credit to you, Colin. You called this one early. The Buffalo Bills, still the Chiefs without the trophies. Maybe always will be the Chiefs without the trophies. And we can get to your analysis of the game. I would be remiss to not acknowledge you and J-Mac's analysis before the game. Why don't you just pick the team that always wins to win? It would be easy. I understand J-Mac. J-Mac has dug the hole too deep. He's just like, Kansas City's going to hate me forever anyway, so I'll just triple down on it every year. Eventually, I'll be right, and I'll be able to declare victory. You, Colin, could just be right. Just be like, Mahomes and Reid, I'll just go with them. But so maybe next year, maybe when they're going for the 4-peat, we'll see. Now, your point about the QB sneaks was a great one. I thought your point, I hadn't thought about it from the perspective of Jalen Hurts a little undersized, Josh Allen a little, not oversized, but real big, that it makes it almost harder for Jalen to get a bad spot than Josh.
Right.
Like, so all of that's good. But I think there is a bigger point that you're kind of making, but it's the one I was hammering all year. And it's why I found the Chiefs' skepticism so absurd all year. How many times do they have to show you that they are saving their best stuff for the biggest moment?
Yeah.
How many times do the Chiefs have to show you that they will use games during the year? During the season? You know, we saw a lot of Mahomes and Xavier Worthy not quite on the same page. He can't get his feet down. He can't track the ball. They practiced it in games again and again and again, and then they hit it in a huge spot. During the first matchup with the Bills, Mahomes, 0 rushes. During the playoff game against the Bills, a career high in rushes. Contrast that, Colin. This is where I'll bring it to the tush push stuff. To the Bills' approach. The Bills' tush push this season was, from a statistical perspective, more effective than even the Eagles' tush push.
Yes.
The Bills found something that worked, Colin, and just like, okay, this is what we do. Are we going to work on something new? Nope, we're just going to go to the thing that works. Are we going to have an alternative? Nope, we're just going to go to the things that works. Are we going to, no, we're just going to put it on tape 24 times, doing it the exact same way because it's so effective in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, 2 things have happened. 1, you have given the Chiefs an hour's worth of film on exactly how you run your critical play. And 2, you don't have an alternative because you've just been doing the thing that works. And so I just really hope people learn from this season that on certain teams, they can't be evaluated by point differential or by explosive performances because they are actually planning for game 20 during game 7. And certain other teams are treating every game like the Super Bowl, which is great until and of course you are playing a game to get to the Super Bowl and you don't have another gear.
So I defended Josh Allen. He had a bad first drive. I don't think he had the better coach or the better coordinator. I thought the best head coach and best coordinator were on the other team. Kincaid should have caught the ball. They didn't call a single play for James Cook in the final drive. Inexplicable to me. So I did feel like, even on the tush push, Josh did everything he could. The truth is, the fact that he got the ball off on that final play to Kincaid, it's a remarkably athletic play that he even got it off, even if he threw it to the wrong guy. But I didn't put a lot of the onus on Josh. Do you?
So I think we might find a common ground here, Colin. I think Josh did everything he could have on the final play while also coming up very short on the final drive.
Right.
The 4th and 5 was dead on arrival when they misidentified the blitz. Now, maybe that's on Josh, maybe not. It seems like the former offensive lineman, quarterback, and, football, all 22 folks are in an internet war about that play, and I'm staying out of it. I'm like, I don't know, guys. I probably would have missed the blitz or two. You guys figure that out. Once that free runner was in Josh's face on 4th and 5, he made as good of a play as you can make. I don't think it's fair to say Kincaid should have caught it. I would say he could have caught it. So that part I agree with. But the flip side to that coin is this, Colin. 3:33 left, all 3 timeouts, down 3 points, biggest drive of your life, 6 plays, 17 yards. That's not great. It's just not great.
That's right.
We can talk about this is about Mahomes' greatness. Josh was in a position that I, as a Chiefs fan, it's the worst feeling there is, which it's like, oh, my God, Patrick might not get the ball back.
Right.
They have you're in a spot where Patrick might not get last licks. And for Josh to go into that, and they get the first down on his scramble, and then 1st and 10, he has the worst throw he's had all game since the opening 2 throws over Shakir's head. 2nd and 10, he dirts one essentially to Curtis Samuel. Now you're in 3rd and 10, which set the table for 4th and 5. And now, again, I think he's the 2nd best quarterback in football. I also think, if we are being fair, 2 years in a row, he has had the ball in his hands down 3 points in a game he was either favored in at home or it was basically a pick 'em in a spot that he can go win. And last year, 1st and 10 or 2nd and 9, he misses the guy. 3rd and 9, he gets rushed. 4th down, they missed the field goal, but still it would have been Mahomes' ball with 1:40 left. And yesterday, 3:33 left, 3 timeouts, down 3 points on the 30-yard line. To get 17 yards out of that drive is a miss, and the flip side to it is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs had a far more successful drive trying to run the clock out than the Bills had trying to save their season. So I'm not killing him for it, but if you want to beat a legend, you have to have a legendary moment, and he didn't.
So it's interesting. Let's say Mahomes wins his 3rd in a row. So Bill Russell had 11 titles. By the time Michael got to 3, forget 6, there was an understanding we're looking at the greatest player of all time. There was a sense that
they put it on his statue. Yeah. It's engraved.
Yeah.
After 3 titles, he retired and said the greatest there ever was, the greatest there ever will be. Nobody was like, but Magic's got 5. Yeah, right. Exactly. Go ahead. Right.
And so Ohtani, even with the Angels, he didn't have to have Babe Ruth's entire career. We're like, yeah, that's better than Babe Ruth. Because we have eyes and we're reasonable, right?
Like it's saying that.
It's like,
I don't know that Ohtani being better than Babe Ruth is a universally held opinion, but I like that you are trying to move the Overton window to, hey, I said it, now everyone agrees. I love the take, but I don't know that is, the consensus. But go ahead, I'm with you on this.
So Tom's got the most hardware. But there is, and by the way, for years and years, Montana had more than Tom. But there was a feeling the minute Tom won his 4th, we were like, but football's weird. Yeah. Because in football, it really comes down to, we're just going to look at Tom's hardware is insane, and nobody's saying Tom's less. But there is something about Jordan's game against Russell, and you're just like, yeah, I've never seen anything like that, and I've been watching basketball 50 years. Mahomes is doing stuff where, I mean, whether he's manipulating officials, throwing with his left hand, it just looks crazy. If he wins a third straight, do you think the discussions will begin, okay, forget numbers, that's the best quarterback ever?
So, definitively the discussions will begin. Now, let me say something in just I'm obviously a Mahomes guy.
Right.
Let me say what Patrick, I know for a fact, would say about this exact topic right now. Now, if he wins another one, maybe it changes. He would say, the hard part is going to be that Tom beat me in a Super Bowl. And that where the Russell Jordan thing falls a little flat is they did, in fairness, play twice in the postseason, and Tom won both.
Yep.
Now, one of them, you know, Patrick drove him down the field, tied the game, never got the ball in overtime, but the league, who rigs everything for the Chiefs, didn't change the rules based on that overtime. They only changed the rules when the Chiefs did that to the Bills, of course, just remember. So that's a fair point. And folks be like, they played and he won. It also is crazy that if you just change one result, say if you change the Tampa Chiefs Super Bowl, change one football game, and all of a sudden, instead of right now it's 7-3, it's 6-4 with Patrick going for 5, and it's like, well, this thing's over already. Right. But those results didn't change. He won those games. The flip side is the guy has been the best player in the league since the first game he played, and we've never seen that before. He's never had a down year. He's never had a down season. The worst year of his career. They win 12, 13 games. They lose in overtime of the conference championship game. The idea that if we want to treat his first season like his learning year, 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, overtime against the GOAT in the AFC title game. Yeah. He has played 6 years since then. They have been to 5 Super Bowls. Yeah. 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. And they've won 3. We'll see if they win 4. So, and if you pull off the three-peat, then you do have something not only that Tom doesn't have, that no one else ever has. So here's what I would say. I think he's the best player ever. Yeah. I think Tom is the greatest of all time. I look at those 2 different things. Okay. One is more about talent and ability, and one is more about accomplishment. If Patrick were to pull off a three-peat, not only do I no longer think he has to get to 8, I don't think he has to get to 7 for it to be a consensus opinion. Okay. I think if Patrick pulls off a three-peat and gets 6 rings, and then it's like, okay, he's just the greatest we've ever seen. And I will say this. Here is the other stunning piece of it, Colin. Patrick just played in his 7th conference championship game. Mm-hmm. He's 29 years old. Tom Brady did not play in his 7th until he was 35. Yeah. So when people are talking about, will Patrick play long enough to catch Tom on the ring stuff, he might not have to, because there was that drought for Tom, as great as he was, in the middle, and I don't see that drought ever coming for Patrick. A 10-year, 0 Super Bowl drought seems unfathomable given what we've seen from this player.
Now, in defense of Brady, whereas Mahomes got Andy Reid, Montana got Bill Walsh, Tom had to deal with, Belichick, who thinks Matt Patricia's an OC. I won't go into that.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to. Again, you're putting me in. It's like, hey, Nick, want to come on the network's best show and try to tear down a bit the network's biggest employee? Not what I'm trying to do. However, if you're going to go after Belichick, I am going to remind everyone that first Super Bowl, I think they scored the whole playoff run 3 offensive touchdowns, and the defense was pretty good. And so we can say he didn't have an offensive mastermind, but that 0-1 season, they did win some playoff games without getting to 20 points. The defense that Belichick, I think, had some hand in was probably a little helpful. Okay. Maybe a little.
Okay, we're going to have a final question. So we posed this earlier. I think Jason Tatum's an excellent player, but I never bought into the top 5 guy in the league stuff. I said I said this 3 years ago. There are games I think Jaylen Brown wants the ball more. In fact, I think they moved Marcus Smart out of town because he was taking the ball to Jason Tatum's hands. Jordan wouldn't allow that. The late Kobe wouldn't allow that. So I said this. I didn't love Anthony Davis' early career. I thought he was soft. I didn't think he played through injuries. I didn't think he was in the greatest shape. The last 2 to 2.5 years, he's been the best defensive player. He's a dominating force. You really can't defend him when he plays the way he wants to play, which is a big 4. It's virtually impossible, maybe not Jokic level, to defend. So I said today, he had another monster night, unbelievable. Yeah, and I said, if you're asking me today who the better player is, especially now for the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, I'm like, I think it's Anthony Davis. J-Mac is a Jason Tatum guy. So I think he is much more intimidating defensively from rebounding. I think he is a dominant 12 feet and in player. And the other thing is, when I turn a game on, I always said this about LeBron. Your eyes go to Anthony Davis immediately. He is on the floor. There are offensive possessions in the playoffs for Jason Tatum. I'm not sure he's playing. Who's a better player today?
Well, gosh darn. What a question. Because it is, here's the thing, top 5 or not, what is definitively true, and you were right about, is in the Jokic, Giannis, Luka tier, Tatum is not. Now, is Shea in that tier now? Maybe. And so call that 4 guys. I know Luka's hurt. And then there's a real debate who would be next. I would rather have Anthony Davis.
Boom.
Because now listen, I want to be fair here.
You don't have to
think
be.
I'm trying to just be totally honest about it. They both have performed excellent on deep playoff runs. Yeah. You know what I mean? I understand Tatum wasn't great in last year's finals, but he was fine. They won easily. I think that, let me put it like this. I think that Anthony Davis at his best is better. If you told me, I know I'm hemming and hawing, but I want to give you a real answer. The best of Anthony Davis is better than the best of Jason Tatum.
Yes.
I do think Jason Tatum, over the course of a season, probably adds a little more impact than AD has shown over the course of the breadth and width of his career. But AD, when he is locked in, because I agree with your first point, I think Anthony Davis is the best defensive player in the league, and it's a crime he's never won Defensive Player of the Year. So when you get that from him basically every night, when you add to it, he can do this type of stuff offensively. He hasn't really fully unlocked it the way you would have hoped. I get it. It's probably a little disrespectful to Tatum, but you don't mind, flirting with a little Tatum disrespect, and I respect that from you. And so, yeah, I mean, let me put it like this. Do I think last year, if you switched them, put Tatum on the Lakers and Anthony Davis on the Celtics, do I think the Lakers go further in the playoffs? Obviously not. Do I think the Celtics all of a sudden don't win a championship? Obviously not. And this year, when the Celtics have, I think, real competition, do I think they might be better because of how they're built with Anthony Davis instead of Jason Tatum? I think there's an argument there. I think that you're also going to get, man, people in Boston already, they had kind of given me a break for a bit. Now you've got me back on this Tatum stuff with you. I don't need to drown on this ship with you. I don't know why you're pulling me into it.
One of them just feels so, if you told me I have a series, 7-game series, I'm taking Anthony Davis. I don't know, about 5 years, 10 years. I got a 7-game series, and you know who's going to be in that 7-game series? Is going to be a Jokic, is a Giannis, and it's like,
oh well, that's a whole nother thing. If we're talking about if we're trying to get through the people you have to get through, I understand that. All right, you're swaying me more and more, but again, I got to tell you something, Colin. I'm on such a Chiefs sugar high? I couldn't. I mean, you might as well have just asked me about badminton. I haven't thought about the Lakers in a week. Like, I'll tell you what I have done. Rewatched that game 3 times. Oh, my God. Oh, the calls. How about the phantom DPI on the Chiefs that nobody cares about?
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, give me everybody. I got to say one thing to you.
Yeah.
But just because it's a big platform, your show. Fellow members of the media, please stop letting the tail wag the dog. It is not supposed to be that we, in members of mainstream media, scroll the algorithm bastardized For You tab and be like, well, this is what people are talking about, and therefore we talk about it.
Right.
It's supposed to be the other way around. We set the conversation. So this whole idea of we have no choice but to talk about the officiating after the AFC Championship game. Why? Because Dove Kleiman and ML Football, who aren't real people, populated your Twitter feed with it? Grow up, everybody.
I agree.
Not you, Colin. You've done a good job.
Yeah, I agree. I don't believe in luck. I think Kansas City situationally, circumstantially, is the best football team, which New England was for 20 years, and Kansas City grabbed the baton, and now they're doing it for the foreseeable future. Nick Wright, first things first. As always, buddy, great seeing you.
See you, buddy.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.